As it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not because you demanded it, not because you wished it, but because that is what was inside all along. In the same way, when life squeezes you during periods of waiting, when opportunities delay, when relationships stall, when answers seem suspended, what comes out of you? Is it fear? Is it resentment? Is it doubt? Or can it be faith? Can it be patience? Can it be the deep knowing that you are more than your circumstances? The waiting does not create your character, it reveals it. And if impatience flows out of you, it is simply showing you where healing is still required. This is not a cause for shame. It is an invitation for awareness. You see, the ego defines you by what you have achieved, what you possess, how quickly you succeed. But your spiritual identity is not rooted in outcomes. You are not a human being trying to earn divine approval. You are a divine being having a human experience. You are already connected to the source from which all blessings flow. And if that is true, then what could possibly be missing? If you are an extension of the same intelligence that paints sunsets and shapes mountains, then how could your life be an accident? The waiting is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence that something unseen is aligning on your behalf. Consider the ocean. On the surface, waves crash and churn. There is noise and motion and turbulence. But descend just a few feet beneath, and you enter stillness. Go deeper, and there is profound calm. Your ego lives at the surface, reacting to every ripple. Your soul dwells in the depths, anchored in eternal peace. When you are waiting for something, a breakthrough, a healing, a partner, a calling, you can choose where you reside. Will you live at the surface, tossed about by each passing thought? Or will you sink into the depths of your being, where trust is natural and surrender is effortless? Surrender is not weakness. It is strength beyond comprehension. The ego believes surrender means defeat, but surrender, in spiritual truth, means alignment. It means saying, I release my need to dictate the how and the when. I choose to align with the wisdom that sees beyond my limited view. When you cling tightly to your own agenda, you contract. When you release, you expand. And expansion is your natural state. The universe itself is expanding. Life is forever unfolding into more. Why would your path be any different? There are moments in life when you pray for immediate answers. You plead for clarity. You beg for signs. And sometimes the response is silence. But silence is not absence. Silence is sacred. It is in silence that intuition whispers. It is in silence that guidance arises. If every request were granted instantly, you would never develop the spiritual muscles of patience and faith. Waiting stretches you. It refines you. It teaches you to find contentment not in the arrival, but in the journey itself. Ask yourself gently, who would I be if I trusted completely? Who would I be if I believed that every delay carried hidden wisdom? The ego says, I will relax when it happens. The soul says, relax now because it is already unfolding. The ego postpones peace. The soul embodies peace. And peace is not the result of circumstances aligning perfectly. Peace is the recognition that even when circumstances are unclear, you are eternally supported. You are not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is happening now. The divine is not withholding your good. The divine is weaving it together in ways your finite mind cannot yet comprehend. Think of the sky. Clouds may gather and obscure the sun, but the sun does not disappear. It remains shining steadily, whether you can see it or not. In the same way, God's grace is constant. Your inability to perceive it does not negate its presence. Your waiting is like the cloudy sky, temporary, shifting, passing, but the light behind it is eternal. There are no accidents in timing. What arrives too early would overwhelm you. What arrives too late would no longer serve you. There is a divine choreography at work, synchronizing events, people, and opportunities with impeccable precision. When you trust this, anxiety loosens its grip. You no longer need to force doors open. You no longer need to manipulate outcomes. You can simply show up, aligned and open, ready to receive what is already on its way. The ego feeds on comparison during the waiting. It looks at others and says, why them? Why not me? But comparison is the thief of spiritual alignment. You do not know the curriculum of another soul. You do not see the lessons they have chosen, nor the timing of their unfoldment. Your path is uniquely designed for your growth. The flower does not envy the tree. The river does not resent the mountain. Each fulfills its purpose in its own time, and so will you. Trust is not passive. It is active surrender. It is choosing faith in the face of uncertainty. It is affirming, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. These are not empty words. They are declarations of alignment. When you repeat them, you shift your energy from scarcity to abundance. You move from fear to love. And love is the highest vibration. Love trusts. Love allows. Love believes in unseen possibilities. The waiting often strips away illusions. It reveals attachments you did not realize you had. It exposes the ego's need for validation. And in that exposure, you are given the opportunity to heal. If you can find peace before the blessing arrives, then the blessing will no longer define you. It will simply enhance what is already whole within you. This is the great secret. You are not waiting to become enough. You are already enough. What you desire is not meant to complete you. It is meant to express through you. When impatience arises, observe it without judgment. Say to yourself, there is my ego seeking control. And then return to your breath. Return to the present moment. The present moment is the only place God can meet you. Not in the imagined future, not in the replayed past, but here, now. This breath is sacred. This heartbeat is sacred. This moment of waiting is sacred. What if the waiting is where you learn to hear your soul most clearly? What if the pause is preparing you for a reality far greater than the one you are currently imagining? The caterpillar must remain in the cocoon longer than it would prefer. But if it forced its way out too soon, its wings would not be strong enough to carry it. Your waiting is strengthening your wings. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. Not because you are powerless, but because you recognize the greater power within and around you. The same intelligence that beats your heart without your effort is capable of orchestrating your destiny without your anxiety. Let go of the illusion that you must figure it all out. You are not the architect of the universe. You are a participant in its magnificence. And in this participation, you are invited to embody faith. Faith is not blind belief. It is inner knowing. It is the quiet certainty that even when the path is unclear, you are being led. Each delay, each detour, each closed door is redirecting you towards something aligned with your highest good. The ego calls it setback. The soul calls it guidance. When you surrender your waiting, you reclaim your peace. You stop bargaining with the future. You stop resisting the present. You begin to live as if what you seek is already seeking you. Because it is, the universe is not conspiring against you. It is conspiring for you. Every unseen movement is aligning circumstances in your favor. Say it softly within yourself. I trust the timing of my life. I trust the wisdom of the divine. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. Feel the energy of those words. They are not hopeful wishes. They are statements of spiritual law. What aligns with your soul will find its way to you. And what passes you by was never part of your highest path. In the waiting, you discover who you truly are. Not a fearful mind scrambling for control, but an eternal being anchored in faith. Not a victim of delayed outcomes, but a co-creator aligned with divine order. The waiting is not empty space. It is holy ground. It is where trust is born. It is where surrender deepens. It is where your identity shifts from ego to essence. So breathe. Release your grip. Let the timeline dissolve. Allow the mystery to unfold. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the next step. You only need to trust that the step beneath your foot is secure. And it is. You are guided. You are supported. You are loved beyond measure. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. In that surrender, you will find not delay, but peace. Not absence, but presence. Not emptiness, but quiet transformation. And one day, you will look back at this season of waiting and realize it was never a void. It was the sacred space where your faith became unshakable, where your heart expanded, where your soul remembered its eternal connection to the source of all things. And in that remembrance, you will smile gently, knowing that the waiting was never about the arrival, it was about awakening. And as you remain in that awakening, something subtle begins to change within you. The urgency that once tightened your chest begins to soften. The restless questioning of when slowly dissolves into the sacred inquiry of who am I becoming through this? And that question, that gentle redirection inward, is where the miracle truly begins. Because the divine is never as concerned with the arrival of your desire as it is with the evolution of your consciousness. You see, every season of apparent delay is shaping the container that will hold your blessing. If the vessel is fragile, the gift would shatter it. If the heart is unprepared, the opportunity would overwhelm it. So life, in its infinite wisdom, refines you quietly. It sands down the rough edges of fear. It dissolves the arrogance of self-will. It loosens the grip of attachment. And what remains is a being more spacious, more surrendered, more capable of receiving without clinging. There is a profound difference between waiting with resistance and waiting with reverence. Resistance feels like standing in a storm, shouting at the sky. Reverence feels like standing beneath that same sky, knowing the clouds are temporary. When you resist, you contract. When you revere the process, you expand. And expansion is the natural movement of the soul. The oak tree does not resent the winter that strips its leaves. It knows that beneath the frozen surface, life is reorganizing itself for spring. So too is your life reorganizing itself beneath appearances. The ego demands visible progress. It measures worth by milestones. It calculates success by speed. But the soul understands that transformation often happens in invisibility. A child in the womb does not announce its development day by day, yet in that hidden sanctuary, entire systems are forming, bones are strengthening. A heartbeat is establishing rhythm. In silence, life is preparing itself for emergence. Can you trust that something just as intricate is forming within you? What if the very stillness you are experiencing is calibrating you to a higher frequency? What if you are being tuned like a finely crafted instrument so that when the symphony of your next chapter begins, you resonate perfectly with it? Impatience would rush the melody, fear would distort the notes, but surrender allows harmony, and harmony is the language of the divine. When you release your insistence on outcomes, you begin to notice the quiet gifts hidden in the present. You notice the softness of morning light touching your face. You notice the rhythm of your breath rising and falling like gentle waves. You notice that you are alive in this moment, sustained by a force you did not create and cannot control. That awareness alone is enough to dissolve anxiety. For if the same power that animates your breath has carried you this far, why would it abandon you now? There is an ancient truth whispered across spiritual traditions, that what you seek is seeking you. Not in desperation, not in lack, but in divine reciprocity. The longing in your heart is evidence of alignment, not deficiency. The desire was planted within you for a reason, but it is not meant to be pursued with tension. It is meant to be allowed with trust. Like a magnet drawing iron filings, your alignment will attract what matches your vibration. When you dwell in faith, you become a field of attraction for grace. And yet, sometimes the waiting feels heavy. There are nights when doubt creeps in like a shadow at the edge of your awareness. In those moments, do not fight the shadow. Simply turn toward the light within. The shadow has no substance of its own. It is only the absence of illumination. Bring awareness to your thoughts. Ask gently, is this thought rooted in love or fear? If it is fear, let it pass like a cloud, drifting across the vast sky of your consciousness. You are the sky, not the cloud. The sky is never harmed by passing weather. When you identify with the sky-like nature of your being, you realize that circumstances are temporary visitors. They come and go. They shift and change. But the essence of who you are remains steady, expansive, untouched. From that vantage point, waiting loses its sting. It becomes simply another experience moving through the infinite awareness that you are. Trust deepens when you recognize that you are not navigating this life alone. There is an intelligence woven into every atom of existence, coordinating events beyond your comprehension. What appears as coincidence is often quiet orchestration. A missed opportunity redirects you to a more aligned path. A closed door nudges you toward a hidden entrance. What you interpret as delay may actually be protection. And protection, though sometimes disguised, is an expression of love. The mind may argue, but I have been patient. I have believed. Why has nothing changed? And here is where spiritual maturity blossoms. Faith is not transactional. It is not a bargaining chip exchanged for outcomes. Faith is a state of being. It is the unwavering recognition that your life is guided regardless of external evidence. When you anchor into that recognition, you no longer measure progress by visible results. You measure it by inner peace. And inner peace is the greatest wealth you will ever possess. It cannot be taken from you unless you relinquish it. It does not depend on circumstances aligning perfectly. It arises from alignment with your true nature. When you are at peace in the present, you are already living in abundance. The future becomes a continuation of that abundance, not a remedy for lack. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast field at dawn. The horizon stretches endlessly before you. You cannot see every path, every curve of the terrain, every hidden valley. But you trust that as you step forward, the ground will meet your feet. You do not demand a complete map. You move with quiet assurance. That is what it means to surrender your waiting. It is stepping forward without complete visibility, guided by an inner compass that never fails. The ego fears uncertainty because it equates uncertainty with danger. But uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. If everything were predetermined in visible form, there would be no room for miracles. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the canvas upon which grace paints its masterpieces. And your willingness to remain open within the unknown invites those masterpieces into your life. Let your waiting become a sacred partnership with the divine. Instead of asking, why is this taking so long, ask, what is this teaching me about trust? Instead of pleading for acceleration, inquire, how can I embody gratitude right now? Gratitude is the bridge between present awareness and future fulfillment. When you are grateful before the manifestation, you demonstrate faith in its inevitability. There is a profound liberation in releasing the need to predict. You are freed from the exhausting task of micromanaging destiny. You are freed from the tension of comparing timelines. You are freed from the illusion that your worth is tied to speed. In that freedom, creativity awakens. Joy returns. You begin to live not in anticipation of life, but in participation with it. And as you continue to surrender, you may notice a gentle paradox. The more you let go, the more life flows toward you effortlessly. Opportunities arise without force. Connections deepen without manipulation. Solutions appear without strain. This is not coincidence. It is the natural result of alignment. When you are no longer pushing against the current, you move with it. And the current of the divine is always moving toward expansion, toward love, toward growth. Trusting God with your waiting does not mean you become passive. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. You take steps guided by intuition rather than fear. You follow nudges that feel expansive rather than urgent. Inspiration carries a sense of calm certainty. Desperation carries tension. Learn to discern the difference. Your soul speaks softly, but its guidance is unwavering. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked by the universe. You are unfolding. And unfolding cannot be rushed. A flower forced open before its time would tear its own petals. But given the right conditions, it opens effortlessly, revealing beauty that was always encoded within it. In the same way, your life is blossoming according to a rhythm far wiser than your impatience. Allow yourself to rest in that rhythm. Let your breath anchor you to this sacred now. Let your heart soften into trust. You are held by something vast and benevolent. The waiting is not an empty corridor leading nowhere. It is a sacred chamber where your faith is refined, your vision clarified, your spirit strengthened. And as you continue walking this path of surrender, you will begin to sense a quiet joy rising from within, a joy not dependent on outcomes, not tethered to timelines, but rooted in connection. Connection to source, connection to purpose, connection to the infinite intelligence that has never once ceased guiding you. In that connection, you discover that the true gift was never the thing you were waiting for. The true gift is the awareness that you are eternally supported, eternally guided, eternally loved. And from that awareness, you step forward, not anxious for what comes next, but confident that whatever unfolds will be precisely what your soul requires. So rest in trust, walk in quiet faith. Let your waiting be an altar upon which you lay your fears and reclaim your freedom. For in surrendering your timeline, you have aligned yourself with eternity. And eternity has always been on your side. And as you continue to soften into this sacred alignment, something luminous begins to awaken in the quiet spaces of your being. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with thunder or spectacle. It arrives gently, like dawn spreading light across a dark horizon. You begin to sense that you are not suspended in delay, you are suspended in divine intelligence. You are not paused, you are positioned. There is a difference. To be paused feels powerless. To be positioned is purposeful. When you understand that every apparent standstill is actually placement, your entire inner landscape changes. The waiting is no longer a hallway of uncertainty, it becomes a sanctuary of preparation. You are being placed where your next evolution can take root. You are being aligned with circumstances that match the frequency of your expanding awareness. The ego trembles when it cannot see movement. It interprets invisibility as absence, but the most powerful forces in existence are unseen. You cannot see gravity, yet it holds galaxies in place. You cannot see love, yet it transforms human hearts. You cannot see the breath entering your lungs, yet it sustains your life with unwavering loyalty. Why then would you require visible proof that God is moving in your life? What if the waiting is the invisible gravity aligning your destiny? Imagine the ocean again, vast and boundless. On its surface, storms may rage, ships may struggle, waves may crash against one another with chaotic intensity. But deep beneath, there is a current, ancient, steady, purposeful. That current moves with intelligence far beyond the turbulence above. When you trust God with your waiting, you are choosing to identify with that deep current rather than the surface waves. You are choosing depth over drama, stillness over reaction, faith over fear. And in that depth, you begin to notice that your identity shifts. You are no longer the anxious seeker scanning the horizon for signs. You become the anchored soul resting in divine timing. There is dignity in that posture. There is grace in that surrender. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows that their life is not random, it is orchestrated. The mind may still whisper its old questions. What if it never happens? What if I am overlooked? What if I am forgotten? But these are echoes of an outdated story. They are remnants of a belief system rooted in separation, and separation is the greatest illusion the ego has ever created. You are not separate from the source of creation. You are an individualized expression of it. The same intelligence that guides the migration of birds and the unfolding of seasons lives within you as intuition. And intuition does not panic. Intuition does not rush. Intuition knows. There is a knowing inside of you that transcends logic. It is the gentle inner voice that says, "Be still." It is the subtle reassurance that arises in the middle of uncertainty and whispers, "All is well." That voice is not naive optimism. It is spiritual memory. It is the remembrance of who you truly are, eternal, connected, sustained by something immeasurable and benevolent. The waiting becomes sacred when you realize it is dissolving your false identity. It is loosening your attachment to roles, outcomes, and labels. It is gently stripping away the belief that your worth is measured by accomplishment. In the stillness, you are invited to rediscover yourself without the noise of achievement. Who are you when there is nothing to prove? Who are you when there is no timeline to chase? You are presence. You are awareness. You are being itself. And being is enough. When you surrender your waiting, you are not surrendering your dreams. You are surrendering your insistence on controlling the route. You are allowing your dreams to mature in divine soil rather than forcing them through the cracks of impatience. A fruit plucked too early is bitter. A fruit allowed to ripen under the sun becomes sweet and nourishing. Trust that your life is ripening. There is cinematic beauty in this unfolding. Imagine yourself standing in a vast landscape at twilight. The sky is painted with hues of gold and violet. The air is still. You do not see the full path ahead, but you feel something sacred in the atmosphere, a quiet expectancy, like the earth itself is holding its breath before night descends. That expectancy is not tension. It is reverence. It is the knowing that something magnificent is taking shape beyond your immediate perception. The universe does not rush masterpieces, and you are a masterpiece in progress. If you found this, it is not by accident. There are no accidents in a universe that is intelligent. There are no random encounters in a field of energy that responds to intention. You are here because something within you, something older than your name, deeper than your history, quieter than your fears, has been calling you back home. Don't look away. There is a moment in every life when the soul whispers, enough, enough pretending, enough chasing, enough, measuring your worth by what the world reflects back to you. That whisper may feel like restlessness. It may feel like anxiety. It may even feel like pain. But what if that discomfort is not punishment? What if it is an invitation? You have been taught to believe you are your accomplishments, your failures, your bank account, your body, your reputation. You have been conditioned to think that the story you tell about your past defines the limits of your future. But that story, that carefully constructed narrative of who you are, is not your essence. It is only the surface. If you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Not because of the pressure, but because that is what is inside. And when life squeezes you, when relationships strain, when money feels scarce, when rejection stings, what comes out is not caused by the world, it is revealed by it. Anger, resentment, fear, doubt, these are not proof that life is against you. They are indicators of what has been stored within. But here is the truth that changes everything. You are not the contents of that storage, you are the awareness observing it. Close your eyes for a moment and notice the thoughts passing through your mind. Notice how they appear and disappear like clouds drifting across the sky. The sky is not disturbed by the clouds. It does not cling to the dark ones or beg the white ones to stay. It allows, it contains, it remains vast and untouched. You are that sky. Your thoughts are clouds. Your emotions are weather patterns. Your circumstances are passing winds. But you, the true you, are the infinite field in which all of it arises. The ego will resist this understanding. The ego thrives on separation. It whispers, you are what happened to you. You are what they said about you. You are behind. You are not enough. You must compete. You must prove. You must defend. The ego builds its identity on comparison and control. It is terrified of surrender because surrender dissolves its illusion of authority. And yet, surrender is not weakness, it is alignment. Imagine the ocean for a moment. Each wave rises, curls, crashes, and dissolves. If a wave believed it was separate from the ocean, it would live in constant fear of ending. It would compete with other waves for height and recognition. It would panic at the shoreline, believing it was being destroyed. But the wave is not separate. It is the ocean expressing itself, temporarily in form. You are not a fragile wave fighting for survival. You are the ocean expressing itself as a human being. The fear of not being enough is born from the illusion of separateness. When you believe you are cut off from the source that created galaxies, you will try to manufacture worth through achievement. You will seek validation in applause. You will chase love from people who cannot give you what you have not given yourself. But what if you stopped chasing? What if you remembered? You are not here to earn your divinity. You are here to express it. The shift begins the moment you question the voice that says, I am lacking. Who is speaking? Who benefits from that belief? The ego feeds on scarcity. It scans the world for evidence that you are less than. It replays old memories to keep the wound alive. It calls resentment justified and fear realistic. But there are no justified resentments in a universe governed by spiritual law. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping someone else will suffer. It binds you energetically to the very experience you claim to despise. Every time you replay the betrayal, you renew the contract. Every time you defend your anger, you strengthen the chain. Forgiveness is not for them, it is for your freedom. To forgive is to declare, I refuse to carry this any longer. It is to release the past from its grip on your present awareness. The ego will protest, but they were wrong. Perhaps they were, but your peace is more valuable than your righteousness. When you let go of resentment, you do not condone behavior. You transcend it. Reality begins to shift when you withdraw your attention from what you do not wish to grow. Attention is creative energy. Where your focus goes, your life flows. If you continuously affirm, I am unlucky, I am unworthy, I am stuck, you are issuing a command to the universe. The words I am are sacred, they precede creation, they align you with the field of infinite possibility. Be mindful of what you place after them. Say, I am broken, and your mind will gather proof. Say, I am whole, and your nervous system will begin to soften. Say, I am abundant, and you will start noticing opportunities that were invisible before. This is not fantasy. It is alignment. The world you see is filtered through the beliefs you hold. Imagine wearing tinted glasses your entire life and never realizing it. If the lenses are colored by fear, everything appears threatening. If they are stained by shame, everything feels like judgment. But the glasses are not your eyes, and your beliefs are not your identity. You can choose again. This is the moment. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, now. The present is the only doorway through which transformation enters. The past is memory, the future is imagination. But now this breath is alive with creative power. Breathe in slowly. Feel the air enter your body. That breath is a reminder that life is happening within you, not to you. You are not a victim of existence. You are a participant in its unfolding. When you shift from asking, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me, you reclaim your authority. Every challenge becomes a curriculum. Every disappointment becomes direction. Every ending becomes initiation. The soul is not concerned with comfort. It is concerned with expansion. And expansion often feels like dismantling. You may lose relationships that no longer resonate with who you are becoming. You may outgrow environments that once felt safe. You may feel alone for a while. But loneliness is not emptiness. It is space. And space is necessary for new creation. Do not rush to fill it. Sit with yourself, without distraction, without noise, without reaching for a screen to numb the silence. In that stillness, you will begin to sense something profound, a quiet presence that does not judge, does not demand, does not compare. That presence is your true nature. It has been with you through every heartbreak, every success, every identity you have tried on and discarded. It has never been wounded. It has never been diminished. It is whole. You are already enough, not because you have achieved something, not because someone chose you, not because you improved. You are enough because you exist. Existence itself is evidence of divine intention. The same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of planets orchestrates the beating of your heart. Would the universe create something unnecessary? The ego says, prove your worth. The soul says, remember it. As you begin to identify less with the voice of fear and more with the awareness observing it, your reactions soften. You respond instead of react. You listen instead of defend. You give instead of grasp. This is not passivity, it is power. Inner freedom does not mean controlling outer circumstances. It means no longer being controlled by them. When someone criticizes you, you do not collapse because you are not anchored in their opinion. When plans fall apart, you do not unravel because your peace is not dependent on outcomes. You move with life instead of resisting it. Resistance creates suffering. Think of a river flowing toward the ocean. If a branch falls into the water and resists the current, it becomes lodged against rocks, battered and bruised. But if it allows the flow, it travels effortlessly. The current is not your enemy. It is the intelligence guiding you home. Trust it. This does not mean abandoning action. It means acting from alignment rather than anxiety. When your actions arise from fear, they carry tension. When they arise from love, they carry grace. Ask yourself throughout the day, am I choosing from fear or from love? This simple inquiry will recalibrate your entire reality. Love does not mean sentimentality. It means wholeness. It means recognizing yourself in others. It means understanding that what you extend returns. When you judge, you tighten. When you forgive, you expand. When you bless, you align. The energy you emit is the energy you attract. If you walk into a room believing you are unwelcome, your body language will close, your tone will shift, and you will unconsciously create the very rejection you fear. But if you enter anchored in the knowing that you are a divine expression of life, you radiate a frequency that invites connection. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid. It responds to consciousness. As you elevate your internal state, your external experiences begin to reorganize. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities increase. The right people arrive at the right time. What once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. There will still be challenges. Enlightenment does not exempt you from humanity, but your relationship to difficulty changes. You no longer interpret obstacles as proof of inadequacy. You see them as stepping stones. You stop asking, "When will I arrive?" and start recognizing that you are already here. This is the shift. The moment you realize that peace is not found in achievement, but in awareness. That abundance is not accumulated, but recognized. That love is not acquired, but expressed. Do not look away from this truth because it dissolves the drama the ego clings to. The ego thrives on struggle. It wants a story of overcoming, of proving, of triumphing against odds. But the soul is not interested in winning. It is interested in awakening. And awakening is gentle. It is the gradual recognition that you are not your fear, that you are not your past, that you are not the voice in your head narrating your inadequacy. You are the silent witness, the vast sky, the endless ocean, the source from which the wave arises and into which it returns. When you live from this awareness, gratitude becomes natural, not forced, not performative, but organic. You begin to see beauty in ordinary moments, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the miracle of breath. You stop postponing joy for some imagined future and begin inhabiting it now. You understand that this moment is not a stepping stone to somewhere else. It is life itself. And so, if you found this, your reality is about to shift because you are ready to release what no longer serves you. You are ready to forgive what once defined you. You are ready to step out of the prison of ego and into the freedom of presence. You are ready to remember who you have always been. Say it quietly within yourself. I am not my fear. I am not my past. I am not my limitations. I am awareness. I am love. I am enough. Feel how those words settle into your body. Feel the subtle expansion in your chest. Feel the loosening of old tension. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of living consciously. Do not look away when old patterns try to reclaim you. Do not look away when discomfort arises. Stay present. Stay aware. Stay anchored in the knowing that you are more than any temporary form. The wave may rise and fall, but the ocean remains. You remain. And from this place, this deep, unshakable center, you will create a life not driven by fear, but guided by intention, not motivated by lack, but inspired by abundance, not confined by ego, but expanded by love. If you found this, it is because your soul is ready, ready to shift, ready to awaken, ready to remember. And nothing, no past mistake, no external circumstance, no voice of doubt can stop a soul that has decided to come home. And as you step more deeply into this remembrance, something subtle begins to reorganize within you. It is not dramatic at first. There are no trumpets announcing your awakening. There is simply a quiet recalibration, like a compass needle gently turning toward true north after years of spinning. You begin to notice how often you once sought permission to be yourself, permission to rest, permission to speak, permission to dream beyond what seemed reasonable. And now, in this widening awareness, you realize that the need for permission was never about others. It was about a belief that you were somehow separate from the source of all authority. But what authority could be higher than the intelligence that breathes you? The sun does not ask if it is worthy to rise. The oak tree does not apologize for taking up space in the forest. The stars do not dim themselves to make the night more comfortable. They shine because shining is their nature. And your nature is to express the infinite in form. There is a sacred audacity in living as though you are divinely guided because you are. Yet the ego trembles at that statement. It confuses guidance with arrogance. It mistakes surrender for passivity. It believes that trusting the unseen is foolish. But what has the ego's vigilance truly given you? Has it delivered peace? Has it silenced the restless hunger for more? Or has it kept you scanning the horizon, convinced that fulfillment is somewhere else? The mind that is addicted to elsewhere cannot taste the nourishment of here. It is always negotiating with the present moment. I will be content when, I will relax after, I will love myself if, and in doing so, it postpones the very experience it seeks. There is no arrival point where you suddenly become complete. Completeness is not a destination. It is the recognition that nothing is missing now. When you release the compulsion to become someone else, you encounter a profound stillness, It is not boredom, it is spaciousness. In that space, creativity blossoms. Not the frantic creativity of proving your worth, but the effortless creativity of expression. You begin to act not because you need validation, but because you are inspired. Inspiration literally means in spirit. To be inspired is to allow spirit to move through you without obstruction. And obstruction is born of fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood. Yet those fears dissolve when you no longer define yourself by outcomes. You are not the applause. You are not the criticism. You are the one who witnesses both and remains unchanged. Consider how much of your life has been shaped by invisible agreements, silent contracts you signed in childhood. Agreements that said, I must achieve to be loved, or I must be agreeable to be safe, or I must not outshine others. These agreements were formed by a younger version of you attempting to navigate the world. They were strategies for survival, not declarations of truth. But you are no longer that child. You have the power now to renegotiate every contract that limits your expansion. You can say, gently but firmly, thank you for trying to protect me, but I choose a new belief. And the moment you choose, the architecture of your inner world begins to shift. Beliefs are not facts. They are habits of thought, and habits can be transformed through conscious awareness. When an old narrative arises, I always mess things up, nothing ever works for me, I'm too late, instead of wrestling with it, observe it. Let it pass through your awareness like a breeze through an open window. Do not cling, do not resist. The very act of witnessing loosens its grip. You do not need to fight darkness, you only need to introduce light. Awareness is that light. As your inner illumination strengthens, compassion deepens not only for others, but for yourself. You begin to see your past mistakes not as stains on your identity, but as steps in your unfolding. You recognize that every choice, even the misguided ones, was made from the level of consciousness you had at the time. And now your consciousness is expanding. Expansion requires gentleness. Harsh self-criticism is merely the ego wearing a spiritual mask. True growth feels like warmth. It feels like allowing yourself to evolve without condemnation. It feels like releasing the need to be flawless and embracing the beauty of becoming. You are not here to perform perfection. You are here to embody authenticity. Authenticity is magnetic. It does not chase. It does not manipulate. It simply radiates. When you are aligned with your essence, you no longer need to convince others of your value. You become a living invitation for others to remember theirs. And this is how transformation spreads, not through force, but through presence. There will be moments when the old world tries to reclaim you. Familiar environments may tempt you back into outdated roles. People may expect you to behave as you once did. But you are not obligated to repeat a version of yourself that you have outgrown. Growth sometimes requires disappointing expectations. It is not selfish to honor your evolution. It is courageous. As you embody this courage, you may feel a strange mixture of vulnerability and strength. Vulnerability because you are no longer hiding behind personas. Strength because you no longer need them. This paradox is the hallmark of spiritual maturity, the ability to stand open-hearted in a world that once taught you to armor up. Armor is heavy. It restricts movement. It limits intimacy. When you set it down, you rediscover your natural fluidity. You respond to life with curiosity rather than defense. You listen more deeply. You speak more truthfully. You act more intentionally. Intention is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the silent declaration that shapes your experience. When your intention is rooted in love rather than fear, your actions carry a different vibration. They ripple outward in ways you cannot always see, but can certainly feel. You are constantly transmitting energy. Even in silence, you are communicating. The question is not whether you are influencing the field around you. The question is from what state you are influencing it. If your inner world is chaotic, your outer world reflects that turbulence. If your inner world is anchored in clarity, your outer world begins to mirror that coherence. This is not mystical thinking. It is alignment. The outer is a projection of the inner. So tend to your inner landscape with devotion. Just as a gardener removes weeds and nourishes the soil, you can cultivate thoughts that strengthen your sense of connection. Gratitude is fertile ground. Presence is water. Forgiveness is sunlight. In this environment, peace grows naturally. And peace is not passive. It is profoundly powerful. It allows you to move through conflict without absorbing its hostility. It enables you to stand in disagreement without losing your center. It gives you the capacity to choose responses that uplift rather than escalate. This is how reality shifts, not through grand gestures, but through consistent alignment with your highest understanding. There is a rhythm to this awakening. Some days you will feel expansive and luminous. Other days you may feel contracted and uncertain. Do not mistake temporary contraction for regression. The tide moves in cycles, yet the ocean remains whole. Trust the rhythm. When doubt surfaces, do not banish it. Sit with it. Ask it what it needs. Often doubt is simply a part of you seeking reassurance that it is safe to grow. Offer that reassurance. Whisper inwardly, we are supported, we are guided, we are capable. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you cherish. And as you do, a profound intimacy develops not with another person, but with your own being. You begin to enjoy your own company. Silence becomes nourishing rather than uncomfortable. Solitude becomes sanctuary. From this sanctuary, your choices become clearer. You no longer act out of desperation for approval. You act from resonance. Opportunities that align with your essence feel expansive in your body. Those that do not feel constrictive. Your body becomes an instrument of guidance. Listen to it. Your body is not an obstacle to spirituality. It is a portal. Sensations are messages, tension signals, misalignment, ease signals, congruence. The more present you are, the more fluent you become in this language. And gradually, the need to control every outcome fades. Control is a strategy born of mistrust. When you trust the intelligence animating your life, you participate fully while releasing the obsession with results. You plant seeds with care, but you do not dig them up daily to check their progress. You understand that growth occurs beneath the surface before it becomes visible. Your transformation may not yet be obvious to the outside world, but within you, tectonic plates are shifting. Old fault lines are dissolving, new landscapes are forming, and one day you will look back and realize that the version of you who once felt confined by fear has softened into someone spacious and steady. You will notice that situations which once triggered you now pass through without disturbance. You will recognize that what once felt urgent now feels optional. This is freedom, not the freedom of escaping life, but the freedom of meeting it without resistance. The freedom of choosing your inner state regardless of external circumstances. The freedom of knowing that your essence is untouched by temporary conditions. If you found this message, it is because something within you is ready to live from that freedom, not occasionally, but consistently. You are ready to release the illusion that you are small. You are ready to dissolve the belief that you must struggle to deserve joy. You are ready to embody the truth that your existence is not accidental, but intentional. And as you continue walking this path, remember, awakening is not about becoming extraordinary. It is about recognizing the sacred in the ordinary. It is about seeing divinity in a single breath, in a simple act of kindness, in the quiet decision to think a new thought. Do not look away from the subtle miracles unfolding in your life. They are evidence of your alignment. You are not moving toward your wholeness. You are uncovering it. And with each conscious breath, each forgiving thought, each loving intention, your reality reorganizes itself around the frequency of who you truly are, infinite, connected, and profoundly free. And as this awareness settles deeper into your bones, you begin to sense that life has never been against you. It has always been for you. Even the detours, even the heartbreaks, even the seasons when you felt abandoned by your own hope. They were not punishments, they were preparations. They were the chisels shaping the sculpture of your becoming. You once believed you were navigating a random world, trying to secure fragments of happiness wherever you could find them. But now you feel something different, a subtle orchestration. A quiet intelligence weaving experiences together in ways your rational mind could never fully comprehend. You see how one closed door redirected you toward a path you would not have chosen consciously, yet that path carried the exact lessons your soul required. Nothing was wasted. Every tear watered the soil of compassion within you. Every disappointment strengthened your capacity for discernment. Every ending carved out space for a more authentic beginning. And what you once labeled as loss reveals itself as transformation in disguise. There is a sacred humility in recognizing that you do not have to manage the entire universe. The sun will rise without your supervision. The seasons will change without your control. The tides will move in rhythms older than your worries. And the same force that sustains galaxies sustains you effortlessly. Let that truth soften you. You are not here to carry the weight of existence on your shoulders. You are here to participate in it consciously, to dance with it, to breathe with it, to trust it. When you release the need to dominate the unfolding of your life, you make room for grace. Grace is not something you earn. It is something you allow. And in allowing, you become lighter. The heaviness of constant evaluation, am I doing enough, am I ahead, am I behind, begins to dissolve. You stop measuring your worth against invisible yardsticks. You stop comparing your journey to curated illusions. You begin to honor the sacred timing of your own unfolding. A flower does not compete with the blossom beside it. It opens when it is ready. You too are opening. There will be moments when the old voice returns, attempting to lure you back into contraction. It may whisper of scarcity. It may remind you of former failures. It may tempt you to armor yourself once more. But now, you recognize that voice as a pattern, not a prophecy. You greet it with awareness rather than obedience. You no longer argue with it. You outgrow it.